Hello there, people of the internet. You're gonna hear my air conditioner going in the background. It's like 98 degrees here in the state of Florida with extremely high humidity. I'm not turning that thing off. However, the information I'll be providing in this video should be valuable enough to make up for it. So this is my 10.4mm Vetterli rifle. This is an Italian one. This one came from RTI. I've already made videos about this one. She's in pretty nice shape for what it is, what it's been through, etc., etc. These right here are black powder guns, but if you know what you're doing, then there's plenty of smokeless powder loads that you can use for them. You just want to make sure that you don't overdo it, especially with the Vetterli system. The Vetterli system, just because the locking lug system is separated from the bolt itself, it's just not designed for smokeless powder. So if you do want to run one of these, I recommend going with black powder. As a matter of fact, I got some black powder right here in a instant coffee container because it was empty and I needed a container for black powder because I make my stuff at home and my other containers are full. But anyway, 10.4 by 47, I think it is, Vetterli. I was doing some research online trying to figure out what I needed for this, how to load it, etc., etc. There's really not any dies out there for it. You can find them, but whenever you do find them, they're not the easiest to find, and they're oftentimes expensive, etc., etc. If you feel like doing that, then by all means go for it. A 45 caliber bullet seating die, that seems to work well enough for me, but it did take a little bit of finagling. So let me walk you guys through this. In my research online, there were a couple of sources that I came across telling me that these right here take the same bullet diameter as a 44 Magnum, like a 429 or a 430 bullet, depending on, you know, your bullet type and how it's made, etc., etc. Those are what this right here takes, so I was told. Turns out that there is what 41 Swiss Vetterli takes, and not the Italian version. So the Italian version, I noticed that whenever I was trying to seat 45 caliber bullets inside of these dies, let me show you guys what I got going on here. It's stretched out, that brass, and that's not what that's supposed to look like. So I seated these bullets, and they were 430 diameter bullets, and they were the same ones that I used for my 44 Magnum loads, because that's what the internet told me I needed. And I was looking at it, and I was like, that's not supposed to look like that. So I ultimately decided to go ahead and, what do you call it? Whenever you shove a ball down the barrel, I slug the barrel. That's the terminology I'm looking for. I slug the barrel, which essentially means that you take a lead ball and you shove it down the barrel, and then you measure the lead ball to see what the diameter of the lead ball is. So this right here is our lead ball. It was just a little bit larger. I think it was a 433 diameter lead ball or something like that. And it gauged out to we got 409.5. That is what our bullet ultimately gauged out to. So that tells me that this right here is a true 41 caliber, probably a 410 diameter bullet that was actually supposed to be used in this thing. So I ended up getting my hands on some 410 shotgun slugs. These right here are not heavy enough to actually stabilize. This rifle's designed around like 300 grain bullets, and this right here is a 215 grain. But this right here is a much more appropriate diameter that's seated very nicely inside of our shells. And right here is one that I have seated in a 10.4 Vetterli shell. This shell has been made from, I'm not sure how well this is going to pop up on camera, but it's 8mm Lebel brass, because that's brass that is out there on the market that you can find. And this stuff right here, supposedly, I have not actually tried it, works pretty gosh darn well. So for my 41 Swiss, I use Tight Group. Now, Tight Group is a very fast burning powder. It's typically a pistol powder, and it does not care about case capacity or you don't have to worry about the amount of powder you have in comparison to your case with this stuff, because it burns basically instantaneous. That being said, the pressure curve is extremely high, and you don't want to load this to extremely high pressures. But I load 41 Swiss with that, and I load my 41 Swiss essentially exactly how I loaded my 10.4 Vetterli case. This is a 215 grain bullet, and I got about 7 grains of tight group, so the ballistic capabilities of this is going to come out to about 45 long Colt, which is not an overly powerful cartridge, but considering that we're just going to be test firing this and plinking at the range, I think that's going to be just fine. Alright, slight interruption, so I'm not positive on where we left off. So I think I covered tight group and why I use it, and I just smacked this thing onto the ground. This right here is what we have. Now, my 45 caliber seating die, it kind of worked for this, but it didn't really crimp all that well. So I'm sure I'm going to get some flag and pushback for this one, but what I did to crimp it, let me grab this over here, is I have this set of wire crimps, and I was just like, hey, I wonder if this would work. Now, this right here is not going to provide a perfect crimp for this by any stretch of the imagination, but I was able to seat 2 little crimp lines on the projectile, and that's good enough to hold it steady. So this right here should be well enough to be able to hold itself in place for our testing purposes. I will figure out a better solution for this, but I can at least blast off a couple of these rounds to function test the rifle. If the rifle itself ends up not working, then there's probably not much point in me doing this, other than the fact that I want to fire one of these on the YouTube channel because it's a cool old gun, and that's kind of what this YouTube channel is about, shooting these cool old guns. So after figuring out that this was in fact a 41 caliber bullet by actually physically slugging the barrel, we are left with using 410 shotgun slugs. This right here, I think this is a 250 grain or 215 grain bullet. So it's kind of lightweight. It's probably not going to stabilize inside of this, so we will likely have keyholing issues. If we do, I'll try a heavier bullet and we'll see if that fixes it. But the barrel of this rifle is not exactly all that great, and even if it was good enough, well, you'll notice that we have no rear sight on this thing. It's one of those Ethiopian special rifles where they got rid of their rear sights. Don't ask me why. A lot of people have told me all sorts of different things. The good common assumption as to why the Ethiopians got rid of the rear sight was to make them easier to aim while on horseback. I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know how accurate this is going to be. Like I said, the barrel is basically a sewer pipe because it's a black powder gun, and that was kept in Ethiopia, and the smokeless powder guns over there are basically completely shot out. That being said, there is some rifling left in this thing, so if we do have trouble with keyholing, I'll try heavier bullets. If we have trouble with keyholing after that, I will counterbore this barrel, and we'll see if we can't get a little bit of life left out of this thing. So, all that being said, I currently don't have access to a range because it's the weekend, and my gun range that I go to here, it's a public range, and it is just swarming with people on weekends. So I try to go during the weekdays whenever I can, and we'll see if we can't break this thing out on a weekday and try and get some good results. The reason why I'm using smokeless powder for this and not black powder is simply because we are function testing the rifle, and we're testing bullet sizes. We're basically just trying to see what we got going on here, and I don't want to have to completely disassemble the rifle and clean the rifle in its entirety just for function testing stuff. Whenever I get it to where I like it and get it to where I feel the rifle is going to work and it's not going to keyhole and we can go out and actually do some shooting with it, then I'll load up some properly weighted bullets and I will use some black powder. This right here is corned black powder, so I will have to compress it to get any real velocity out of it, but it should work for at least the ranges that we shoot at, because I normally shoot at like 100 yards or so. So I will definitely be doing a follow-up video with this where I actually take it out of the gun range. I just wanted to talk about actually loading the 10.4 Vetterli cartridge that I got here. It's 10.4 by 47. This is the Italian Vetterli stuff. So 41 caliber. Everyone else said it was like a .430 diameter bullet. That appears to not be the case for this one right here. This right here appears to be a true 41 caliber, unlike 41 Swiss, which is a .429 diameter bullet. It's a little bit confusing because they're both like 41 Vetterli, but we got 41 Vetterli Italian and then 41 Vetterli Swiss. And the sources that I found on them, not a lot of people load for this stuff. It was definitely sketchy finding information, so I am going to have to kind of figure things out for myself. I know for a fact that with the loadings we got going on here, just because I have ran this exact loading through Vetterli systems before, This should be fine in this Vetterli rifle. As a matter of fact, it's a little bit lighter weight because I use 250 grain bullets for my 41 Swiss, I think. I'll have to double check that, but I think it's 250 or 260, somewhere in there. I use heavier bullets. So we'll go ahead and take this out to the range at some point. That's probably going to be in the future sometime. Besides that, thanks for watching. I do appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.